Hi all, welcome aboard to this exciting webinar, much awaited webinar. I am Swagata and I'll be moderating the webinar today. Some of you who are repeat audience must be wondering who I am. I'm the new joining in the marketing team at CSBox, and this would be my first webinar here, so I might falter and make mistakes, so please bear with me. And I would request all of you to please make this webinar as interactive as you can and keep the questions flowing in. So I'll ensure that all of the questions get answered. And without taking much time, now let me hand it over to the panelist. Over to you, Waze.
Thank you so much. So I think I'll quickly introduce. We'll have a round of introductions, and then we will go from there. I'll start with myself, and I'll pass the baton over to Anthony and Aaron. My name is Puneet Kataria. I'm the founder of Customer Success Box. Been in the industry for about 20 years, and was VP of Worldwide Sales, but accidentally signed an incentive plan which was based on MRR, and was so forced to learn about churn about 6-7 years ago. Was forced to learn about customer success so that I can plug that churn. And here I am, fast forward to today, as a founder of Customer Success Box. I've got all chips in. Customer Success Box, as most of you already know, it's a customer success platform, and today we're going to be sort of unveiling the power of artificial intelligence that we've launched, and we have served the industry first, and we'll sort of talk about it through the rest of this discussion today. In passing the baton to Anthony. Anthony, why don't you best introduce Practitest and yourself?
Okay, so I'm Anthony Lipman. I live in Israel. I'm actually, as you can probably hear, a British expat. And I moved via New Zealand, actually. I was working for 2.5 years in New Zealand at the beginning of the millennium, around 2003 to 2005. And then afterwards, we moved to Israel, firstly, to be while I was looking for another job, and secondly, to be closer to my wife's family, who lives here. And we came here in 2005. We set, after a few months, we had to start thinking about what we were going to do with our kids. We have 4 kids now. At that point, we had 2 kids. And I said to my wife, after we'd been here a few months and we had to get our children into kindergartens, I said to her, "We're staying, aren't we?" And she looked at me and said, "Yes, I think we are." At which point we went for citizenship, and we haven't looked back since. And I made a transition from education into high tech, because being in Israel, that's what everyone does. And I was lucky that our kindergarten teacher's husband was working in IT in a high tech company, and he introduced me to the company, and I found myself working as a QA tester there. And they gave me this first exam about doing QA, and I passed that. And then, having worked in QA, I found myself gravitating more and more to the support desk and talking to the support people and helping them answer their questions. And then when I moved on to my second job in Israel, it was no surprise that it was more in the support direction than in the QA direction. And as I went through jobs, I graduated more to support. And then from support, I was helping specific customers. I was working for a company which had a relatively small number of high value customers. And I was assigned to work, apart from doing QA, with one of those customers in particular. And I was helping them, going beyond answering their questions and doing support. I was actually going into talking more methodology with them, looking at the implications of what their support requests were. And I looked it up online and discovered that what I was actually doing was customer success, when customer success was only just beginning. And I started reading about customer success. And then when I moved out of that company to my present company, it was into a customer success position, having learned a lot about customer success and wanting to interact with the customers. And from there, we've obviously, as we've grown, looked at customer success software, which is how we find ourselves with Customer Success Box. But that's more of the story. And the company I work for is Practitest, and we do ALM testing. So we're like HPQC, TestRail, etc., though we have our own quirks. And our big mantra is helping customers and helping them to enhance their efficiency, streamline their processes, and lower the costs, reducing time to market of their software. And if you want to, you can check out our website, practitest.com, but I'm not allowed to talk too much about it being a marketing effort because I'm not a marketer. So I'll hand over now and pass on to Aaron.
Hey everybody, my name is Aaron Thompson. I'm the Chief Revenue Officer at Success Hacker, also known as Success Coaching. It's great to have a company with two names. That's our logo there, and if you couldn't tell, it's a unicorn, and that's what we aim to do, is help everyone be that unicorn. Our mission is to help people get into and thrive within the customer success industry. We have the world's first certification in customer success management. And now we have 4 levels of that, level 5 coming live very soon. We've got a leadership certification that's on its way. And we are the world's only officially accredited certification. So you can actually get official CE credits. We work with the post-secondary education level here in the States, University of San Francisco, Portland State, a few other universities around the country, to enable the next generation of business leaders to found and be successful in this subscription economy that we now live in and find ourselves operating in. So super excited to be here. We're deep partners with Customer Success Box. I've known Puneet now for I don't know how many years, probably since I founded my first company about 5 years ago, portlandcustomersuccess.com. And somewhere along the lines, I met Todd and Andrew, who founded Success Hacker, and we're based down out of Silicon Valley. And now the 3 of us own this business and love to help people be successful in customer success. So that's probably enough about us. There's our website. You can also go to successcoaching.co if you want to learn about our training, certifications, and opportunities there. Thanks, Puneet.
Thank you, Aaron. Thank you, Anthony. And I think Aaron definitely requires no introduction, but that was wonderful to hear about all the services and options. And we're a very proud partner of Success Coaching. So there are pieces that we sort of ship along our platform to cover the holistic. Technology alone never cuts it. So it's always the practice that is also needed. And given that this is so new. Lovely. I am gonna hit the road. So quickly jump into the agenda, and then we've got a lot to cover. I see many of you have joined, so thank you so much. And as we go through this agenda, Swagata will be helping all of us actually watch the chat. So keep it interactive, keep the questions coming. Even I'm occasionally looking at the chat, but Swagata, please interject as you feel appropriate to bring in sort of the questions from all the attendees. Lovely. So I'm going to kick off with the core webinar topic, talking about artificial intelligence and customer success. Then we get moving with Anthony, where we're going to talk about, he's going to share some of his real world experience of using artificial intelligence in customer success. And then we sort of, and Aaron's going to be party to all of this all through, but specifically we're going to get into more formal panel discussion on how's this looking like? What do we really see? Are the bots going to rule our generation and walk the planet, or we humans will still have some play? So we're going to talk about all those interesting pieces. Okay, let's hit the road. Perfect. So customer success and AI. Now, many of you are wondering, is this really industry first? I've heard about that bot, and I've heard about this bot. It's like where the claim is that artificial intelligence. So first of all, let me talk about what it's not. So customer success and AI, when we talk about, we're not talking about a bot where you ask a bunch of questions. What is the health of account A? And then it tells you the health. It's basically just feeding off of a database. But that's not what we are talking about here. We are talking about artificial intelligence generating literally recommendations for customer success managers to drive retention. And how we're going to get to this is a lot to unpack. So let's move forward. But before we talk about artificial intelligence, let's sort of step back. Let's step back to talk about and remind ourselves why did, at the first place, customer success technology came into existence. We all are from customer success space, but what was the role? Why was customer success technology really needed? And to make it, in the most simplest form, the best way to put it is, it's nothing but what we really needed was an early warning system. And I think what I should really be underlining here is not the entire 3 words, not all the 3 words, but just specifically early. You wanted an early warning system, something that can give you a leading indicator of any risk signals that are coming out, so that as customer success managers, or even if we are automating a bunch of things, we can intervene proactively without really waiting for a user, a customer, to be raising a support ticket. Because support tickets, or the traditional world of support, is fundamentally reactive. We all know, if there is no support ticket coming in, that basically means, everything must be hunky dory. Silence is bliss in support, whereas silence can be deafening in customer success, because we really don't know what's going on. So what we really wanted is an early leading indicator using an early warning system. And that was the fundamental reason why customer success technology started to come into existence. And of course, as the technology matured, you want to, of course, bring in more and more data points and use this as leading indicators, whether it is just not limited to the product telemetry, which is, of course, the most promising source of any leading indicator. And then, of course, all the engagement that you're having with the customers and the users, that could be a secondary, but not as leading as product adoption, I'd say, but still leading enough. And then, of course, Net Promoter Score, we are all familiar with. Personally, at Customer Success Box, we understand the importance of Net Promoter Score, but we are not really big fans of it from the leading indicator perspective. I think it's a great indicator, but it's simply not leading. It's a way more lagging indicator. Think of it like this, that you expect an early warning system to give you an early warning before a user becomes a detractor, not after. And then so on and so forth. So this was the reason why customer success technology originally came into being. So how is customer success technology doing today? So what is the current state of customer success technology? We see, so this is a screenshot of Customer Success Box. You see so many data points, so many entries, a lot of things happening, a lot of health scores, alerts, all of those things are there. But fundamentally, is customer success technology just like Customer Success Box or any other? And we can talk about different differentiations and all of those things, but that's not I'm sort of covering here today. What we are talking about specifically right now is, was customer success technology able to fulfill the promise of delivering that early warning system? So I think in the short, I'll say the answer is yes. But the way it was fulfilled is by using what I would like to call is a rule engine. So it's a bunch of rules that you configure in the system. And of course, everything starts with data. So that's a step that I'm assuming everybody understands. With customer success technology, you push in product telemetry data, you push in your CRM data, you push in your billing data, you push in your product support data, even your engagement data, email data, calendar data, all the events that you're having, QBRs you're having, everything sort of goes into Customer Success Box, for example. And then all of this is fed into Customer Success Box, and you can configure all sorts of health configurations, upsell signals, brisk alerts, product adoption milestones, any automation, all of that using a bunch of fairly powerful, and this is the state across all, or at least the most leading customer success platform out there, where these are very, very powerful rule engines which can allow you to configure the technology in the form and shape that you want. And even automation or direct customer communication, all that is extremely easy, business friendly, can be configured. So this is the state of customer success technology today. So, but why are we talking about? So where is AI? Do we even need AI? So let's talk about that. So in a nutshell, this is where all your data is. You've got product adoption data coming either from Segment or directly through our APIs or JavaScript libraries, subscription, support data, relationship data, all of that stuff. All this data coming in and essentially getting fed and getting consumed by a bunch of human provided rules, which can sound any of these like this: is feature so-and-so used more than X number of times over the last Y days? And you can make them as complicated, and you can use all those hundreds and hundreds of data points. Literally, in terms of columns, there are like hundreds of data points. And in terms of rows, if you're thinking where we consume more than billions of data points every month. And that's the volume of data that we're sitting on. And anytime any of these rules criteria is met, a risk alert, for example, sort of pops out, and that is when you can take human actions or automated actions, as we spoke. This is the current state of customer success technology. But what are the limitations? So the fundamental limitations here are, and this is what we've learned over the experience of deploying customer success technology, working with customer success leaders across the world, and working, and I'll invite Anthony to sort of share his experience, and as Aaron will as well, that given the amount of data that we have, a lot of us still think, oh, we don't have enough data. But the problem is it's actually not the dearth of data. We are living in the land of abundance of data. The problem is too much data. That's another thing: too much data, too little insight, hardly anything actionable, and we are still lost. That's the journey I think we need to cover. But in the land where you've got hundreds and hundreds of data points, all are getting fed into big data systems like Hadoop. But fundamentally, because humans cannot comprehend what are the best rules that we can actually write, we actually starve all these data points for good, well-written health definitions, good, well-written alert definitions, identifying the right feature set, identifying the right thresholds, identifying the right look-back period, and then defining it for each and every segment, segmenting accounts, segmenting your portfolios or customers accordingly. All of that, is fundamentally the problem, that humans simply cannot comprehend the number of data points which are there. So for example, if I'm going to ask any one of you, and if you can put your hats on, is if I ask you, which are the top 10 features which contribute to retention? I'm sure all of you are going to say, of course, I know the top 10 features. Fantastic. If I'm going to bring in 5 more of your colleagues, are those 10 features going to be the same? Challenge number 1. Challenge number 2, when I'm going to ask your 10 colleagues to go prioritize them, are your priorities going to be the same? And here we are talking about the same organization, colleagues coming from different walks of the life. And this is exactly where some of those challenges sort of come in, and then we start to get lost. And what we found in reality, that in spite of having this unlimited data and power to consume, less than 1% of data is actually ever getting consumed. That means 99% of data is actually not even getting utilized. This is a typical, I'm sure some of you might be ahead. And then even if, let's say, I bring in all the stakeholders, we somehow figure out the right threshold, and we cover all the rules and all the health settings, and everything is configured well, new product features get introduced. That means your user behavior is going to change, because now you've introduced new features. You are changing your own product's UI and UX, improving the way it works. You are also educating your own customers. So Anthony, let's say when he joined and started using Customer Success Box versus today, his expectation from technology itself has changed. That means whatever behavior or whatever usage that led to retention is probably not, those are not the key features anymore which have the same correlation with retention. That basically means whatever rules you've written are at best going to get obsolete in 3 months, 6 months time frame. So you're always playing catch up. And hence it requires continuous calibration, which is what I call continuously playing catch up. So what's the solution? This is where we introduce artificial intelligence. Now, can we replace? In fact, let me not use the word replace, because we are not really taking away anything from Anthony here. What we are doing is, can we complement the human provided rules with the additional rules provided by AI? Can artificial intelligence figure out what actions lead to retention and upsells, and what leads to, or what inaction, sort of what non-product adoption leads to churn? And can we replace and do all of this with AI? So introducing Sheldon. So Sheldon's not a bot. We just like to name the face and makes it easier to remember for all of us. So meet Sheldon. So think of Sheldon as somebody who's going to be your partner, somebody who's a member of your customer success team, and think of it like a wingman to every customer success manager. And what Sheldon does in very, very simple words is that Sheldon will put it like that I know your past renewals. So Sheldon's watching all the data points. It knows historical renewals. It can analyze historical product adoption that led to renewal. Then it can also learn from what customer success managers action that led to retention. So it knows if QBR was helping in retention. It knows whether specific emails we're sending that we are sending out to customers, or receiving communication, or having meetings, or doing trainings was leading to retention, and what's the impact it was having. And then once it learns all of this, it starts to monitor your accounts in real time. And because it's machine, it's good at data. That means it's never going to miss anything. And then it starts to monitor each and everything that happens, and then starts making recommendations for the next best action for each and every account, which will lead to retention and upsells. And that, in very, very simple term, is what Sheldon does. So it looks at your own data, looks at your own past renewals, learns from your own customer success manager behavior or sort of actions that sort of led to retention, and then tries to mimic them into future recommendations on the current accounts. So this is how it's going to look like. And time permitting, I'll try to give you a glimpse into a real product as well. So we've got Sheldon, and the recommendations of Sheldon are going to pop up right here. That, hey, here is an active account. The feature leads created. Imagine a CRM. So feature lead created, adoption is too low, and you can. If feature lead created is used even 15 times, it was only used 15 times in the last 28 days. On an average, leads created is used 462 times per month by 96% active renewed accounts. And Sheldon recommends that you re-educate the customer on the benefits of lead created, and maybe help them out in getting more leads created. If you are able to get their threshold up to 85 times per month, that this is going to reduce the churn probability by 45%, and which is going to unlock the future lifetime value by up to $24,500. All this math pre-done, monitored, real-time, produced. And why leads created? Why not the other features? We're going to talk about that. So hold on to that one. So all in all, Sheldon looks at, and in the current form and shape, Sheldon basically comes out with three key recommendations. Product adoption recommendations, keeps recommending that this part of the product needs to be adopted so that you are able to maximize your retention probability, and how it arrives at which ones to do that. Like I was asking you about the top 10, we're going to talk about that. And then it not just looks at product adoption recommendation, it also is looking at the customer success manager actions. For example, if the QBRs done are not enough. So it'll identify that QBRs are very important if that is the case with the behavior that it sort of learns. Then it will identify that QBRs are not done for a certain account for certain days, and then starts to make those recommendations. Or trainings are not done if it identifies and learns that trainings were key to retention in your specific case. These are not generic recommendations. These are recommendations which are coming specifically from each and every product, and for that will be different for each one of your businesses and SaaS product. And then the third, which can be very exciting and interesting, is anytime it finds sort of a blip, even if these recommendations are not valid, but whenever it sort of spots a blip, and you can set the sensitivities here and make it more or less sensitive, and identifies that basically it takes away the job of doing any analytics, any analysis, any thinking piece away from you. And what are we good as humans? As humans, we are good at building relationships, reaching out to customers, nudging them, reminding them why they bought the technology in the first place, and sort of helping them get over any blockers, or bringing other stakeholders on board to make sure we remove blockers and drive that product technology adoption that they've purchased. And that is what we are good at. But what to drive is where technology can come in and help, and this is what Sheldon does. So in a world where so many of us, and Anthony's story is not unique, and just like Anthony shared that I come from sales world myself, and Anthony came from QA to support to success, and so many of us have not come directly to success world because this is so new, although some of us who might be very, very new to the industry might have straight away landed into the jackpot and in the customer success world. But many of us sort of navigated through so many other roles to get here. But customer success requires a lot of experience to be good at. But in the world that we live in today, you want to hit the ground running. And this is where every customer success manager, when paired with a partner of AI, it can sort of hit the ground running and help you become a super customer success manager, like from day one. Now, any questions, comments so far? I see a whole bunch of them. I'm going to try to cover this last part and try to rush against the clock here, and then try to get to some of your comments and questions. Now I'm going to give you a little bit of a glimpse into. So half of you wondering, okay, this sounds too good. Are these even trustworthy? And I'll let Anthony speak in detail, but just to talk a little bit about the brains behind customer success, brains behind the Sheldon in customer success box, is that think of this as all your set of features. So we've got all the features right here on this side, login. And then these are not just product adoption features like logins or proposals created. These can also, it also considers customer engagement, such as QBR completed. Then it also additionally calculates a bunch of metrics, things like account tenure. That can be very interesting to see what is the impact of an account tenure on your retention. Is it like after 5 months, do they get better? After 5 years, do they become better? And what is the overall impact? And then it starts to individually identify the correlation that each of these pieces have with churn or retention, the way you want to look at it. So login, for instance, in this particular hypothetical CRM company has 0.58, minus 0.58 or 58%, direct correlation with retention. So more logins lead to more retention. Interestingly, proposals created, new feature release, probably there is a lot of push, and there is an assumption that if they're creating proposals through the CRM, probably they're going to be super sticky. But here is the truth. This is what the data found out. And this is speaking without any bias and stuff. And this is how customer success, this is how Sheldon identifies which features are more important and will drive retention versus the others. So if you have to nudge your customers to drive, those 5 features or educate them on 5 features, which will be those 5 features. We all know 80% of the value gets delivered by 20% of the features. Sometimes it could be 90-10 as well, but never more than 80-20 for sure. And just to give you an example of how a real sort of data looks like, and this is a data of our real customer, and this is not our largest customer, by the way, in terms of number of features which are sent. We're looking at easily, a truckload of data, impossible for humans to comprehend in terms of, what threshold, what features, should you set up alerts on, an activity on, and actions on. So it just takes away so much of burden from the head of customer success, from the leaders of customer success, from the CS operations people whose job is to configure all these rules in the right way, and sort of it avoids all the journey of discovering the right rule, discovering the right threshold, and puts you makes you hit the ground running from day zero and brings in all the good practices, always up to speed. So ending the piece here, paradigm shift is what we are looking at when we are releasing artificial intelligence in customer success box. So this is the beauty. All you have to do is do your magic of building those relationships, nudging your customers, working with them, driving engagements, helping them out succeed, and leave the data and leave the job of analyzing data, guiding you around product adoption, monitoring what's happening, what trends are changing, what you need to pay attention to, all that to Sheldon. So data-driven, it recommends, it can even act in the future and it constantly learns and adopts and gets smarter every day. It's not really relying on one. We'll talk about future of customer success probably, hopefully in the end. But at this point, I'm gonna pause and invite any of your comments or questions and invite.
Yeah, Puneet, we have a couple of very interesting questions.
Okay.
David has asked that can Sheldon educate the customer for us by sending an article?
Okay, brilliant. I promised my product team that I will not talk about our future product features. So, so the answer is yes. See, because not all interventions can be automated. So humans cannot be replaced is what we fundamentally believe in. So there'll still be recommendations. But if there is a repeatability that can be proved, that every time this happens and you want to repeat a standard piece and you've seen that repeatability work and there is a self-serve angle to it, maybe you want the ability to automate that and see how that goes. But that I think will sort of work in very, very simple pieces, extremely simple use cases, extremely simple, even the products. So as you go towards a higher ARPA, higher ARPA or ARPU, probably that's not going to work. But Aaron, what do you think, or Anthony, if you guys want to come in?
What with regard to the idea of being able to send automatically articles? It's something that both in the AI stream and also in the health stream that we see that certain features are being used, not being used. And we've built up templates which allow us to manually put in the article. But if we could do that automatically, that would be wonderful, I think.
Yep.
Especially with long tail accounts. So if you're dealing with somebody who's a high value account, you're not going to want to send an automated reply. But if you're dealing with long tail accounts, and the long tail does make up a significant percentage of your revenue just by the nature of what it is, but you don't have the time to deal with everyone individually and to send individually tailored emails to everyone. So if you could do something with a template that would then go and insert automatically the feature that they're missing with the link to it, to the help page about it, that would be fantastic, I think.
Yep. And of course, set it up in a way that if they don't react to it and the product is still not adopted, that is when you bring in human intervention rather than the first step of intervention. Mm-hmm. Sort of a fail safe with human intervention. Aaron, you want to come in?
No, I was just thinking as far as sending an article or sending them an email, trying to entice them back into the product when adoption drops, or whatever your re-engagement kinds of activities look like. It's sort of at the end of that slide where you had it all pieced together, Puneet. It could be AI-driven actions or human-driven actions. And I think that it all depends on the customer, to Anthony's point, around your segmentation and where they fit in terms of high touch, low tech touch, et cetera. But I mean, I don't know your product roadmap, but I assume that would just be one of many AI automated actions that could be taken when certain indicators are identified by Sheldon in this case. I need to get used to calling machines after human names. But yeah, Sheldon identifies those and then either does it themselves or alerts the CSM to look into it deeper, I would guess.
Yeah. Got it. Swagata, you have another one for us?
Yes. So there's another question from Scott wherein he asks, can you discuss whether service providers and product providers approach this differently and how?
Approach using AI. So I think, frankly, whether it's product or service, the way I look at it from an AI perspective is that if you've got signals that you can feed into the machine, whether from an AI perspective or even from a rule engine perspective, then you can do a lot with data. The challenge with services is that, unfortunately, the digital footprint of using a service can be A, very non-standard, and B, very limited in comparison to using a SaaS product, for example. I think all of us, and whether in B2B or B2C, are leaving a huge digital footprint behind, and that's product telemetry. But in services, I think it's getting more and more better, because a lot of these services are now getting delivered with and with a digital interface at times, which is getting more and more standardized. I've got some examples that I can talk about, but if you've got data that can be fed in, whether it's for rule engine or for AI, I think it can be still as effective. It does not matter, but that's my take.
Yeah. Puneet, there's one more interesting question. The effort and timeline to train Sheldon meaningfully across a low volume versus high volume CS team.
I think excellent question. So this is probably coming from somebody who comes from the artificial intelligence world and the machine learning world, and you know that AI gets better and better with more and more data. So more data that you can sort of feed in, the better it becomes. So our typical answer to that is 3 months. But if you've got high volume customers, let's say, and you've got thousands and thousands of customers, enough data to learn from your churn and renewals and upsells, then maybe even a month or 2 months worth of data can be good enough. But typically 3 months. If you've got really low volume, then it could be longer than 3 months as well. So it comes down to more specific, but 3 months I think is a good number.
Yeah, that's about it, Puneet. I think we can move.
Thank you. So with that, I'm going to pass the baton to Anthony. And while I do that, Aaron, you've got any comments as we get into this?
Yeah. I mean, I've always got comments, Puneet. So the thing that I like about this, and sort of the revelation that we at Success Coaching have had over the last 2 years, as we've attempted to help people be successful in customer success. We see leadership, for example, come in, and I was tasked with this the first time I was the head of CS. I was hired in with a support background to a company that had a churn problem, and I was told to fix the churn problem. And they expected me to do that in the post-sale world, and really, just being heroic in somehow getting these customers to renew and expand, et cetera, and take a 40% year-over-year churn rate, and they wanted it under 10% in 12 months. And that, after I was the head of customer success, and I thought I knew what it was, right? I've been working with customers my whole career. It's just customer support, right? I came in on day one. I always tell this story. I often tell this story. I came in on day one as the head of CS for the first time. I pulled out my laptop and I Googled, what is customer success? And that's when I found it, right? I found all the technology. I found the industry. I found the conferences and books. And I jumped in head first and really started studying it and created a strategy. And I was able to do that. Take that 40% down to an 8% in 12 months. So I knew it worked. What I had done worked. But what I had to do was empower myself and empower my team and work cross-departmentally all the way up to branding and marketing in the customer journey, through the sales cycle, into everything that we do post-sale, and even into the product roadmap, and work with our leadership around what really mattered to our customers, et cetera. And so I implemented this. I came in and I was able to have a profound effect. But the problem that I fixed, and it was really just out of lack of budget. This was an early stage startup, obviously was struggling because that high of a churn rate. It was amazing they were actually surviving. And so we didn't have a budget for something like Customer Success Box. So I had to find ways to do it in our existing systems. And then I tacked on a few kind of wonky things here and there to try to help myself be able to manage the workload that came with trying to figure out high touch customers that we can actually grow and make more revenue, tech touch customers that we shouldn't spend a second talking to. And if they left, I would never fire a customer, but I can't spend any time because you're not strategically important and you're in the wrong vertical, and the revenue that you pay us is so low, et cetera. And so I make heads and tails of it, and it has a profound impact. I then come out and I start working as a consultant, and now we educate people. And what we have found that I think, Sheldon, and where your direction of your product is going, is that you're actually looking to solve the right problem. And what happens is leadership in CS comes in to fix the churn problem. They then go buy a very expensive piece of technology and throw that at the problem without teaching the people how to use it, without doing anything to enable the team and make the humans better, or even understand what to do from day to day as a CSM. They go and they throw this big tool at it, and 18 months later, they're out looking for their next job because they didn't fix the churn problem. What I love about what you're doing here is you're fixing the right problem. You're addressing the people by way of the tool and the technology. You're looking to make the CSMs better, faster, stronger, that super CSM, as opposed to surfacing up in dashboards, red, yellow, green, and like having to kind of do my own business intelligence out of it. Sheldon's going to tell me almost from a workflow management perspective, the next best thing to work on. That then makes me a better CSM. And now you're actually looking to fix the correct problem, which is the people as opposed to the technology. So I love technology as long as it's seen as a tool for humans to be better. And that's exactly what you're looking to do here. So I'm excited to see where this goes and how it continues to mature. And, you know, sometime, hopefully I can have Sheldon over for a beer, hang out with Sheldon.
There you go. Brilliant.
Yeah, you might find he's a little bit antisocial.
Yeah,
he leaves the sociability bit to us.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Sheldon cannot hang out for beer, but Sheldon's good at what it does, and we humans can hang out for beer. So that part stays with us.
Yeah.
Hey, Anthony, feel free to share your screen.
Okay.
Yeah, whenever you're ready, and we will jump on to the next part.
Yeah. So can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Okay, so you've seen the introduction about me, that I work at a company called Practitest, and that we do test management software. We're a SaaS company, obviously, and we work completely in the cloud. And when people ask us, do you have a downloadable version? Our answer is no, we don't. We don't have an on-site version. Everything is in the cloud because we believe it's the best way to operate now. But of course, being a SaaS company, we have all the problems that all of us have as SaaS companies, that in the olden days, you downloaded your software. We knew that we got you for at least 3 years before you had to do a major upgrade. And so you bought the software outright, and it didn't really matter what happened over that period of 3 years until we wanted you to buy the software again. And we'd got a whole bucket full of money. And if the worst came to the worst, we'd at least covered our costs with a good profit of actually acquiring the customers. But now, of course, it's just a single button away. On any day of the week, they can hit the cancel button. In our software, there's just a red button on the account settings pages, and they can hit cancel, just check a couple of checkboxes, and they're gone. So that's why I was hired into Practitest, to try and stop people pressing that red button. Of course, we're all hired originally to avoid churn, increase retention. As we know, there's a lot more to customer success than that. But that's the bottom line, that we have to get the numbers on the page and reduce the churn and increase retention, increase upsell as well. So customer success at Practitest, I'm actually very fortunate in we have a company that's very customer centric and also customer success centric. And the company puts a lot of support into its customer success department. It doesn't see it as just a tack on to support. We're actually seen completely independently, and we have a voice right through the whole company. We're a very small company anyway, so it's almost a family atmosphere there. But we have a voice right through the company. We can express opinions and be listened to, right from the CEO down to the tea lady, to the office support person. So we're listened to, we're taken as being experts, and they want us to make sure that we're doing the best for the company that we can. And I'm a big believer in how you start, that's the way you should continue. And when somebody joins as a new customer, I think that the impressions that they get over the first few days, or at most the first few weeks, is going to be the effect of the impression for the whole time that they're with us and how long they'll be with us. And so I put a huge amount of focus into our onboarding and making sure that customers understand our processes, that we have a statement of works that we can share with customers, give them go live dates. And this has taken a bit of, I've actually got a bit of stick from this from within the company, that they say, do you have to be so formal? And as the time has been going on, I've been there now 3.5 years, but in the last year, I've said, yes, we do have to be formal, because whether the customer keeps to it or not, if we don't help them set their goals and don't set their timelines for those goals, then there's no chance of them staying with us, and we don't know why they're not fulfilling their goals. It's much more difficult to send a cold email out to somebody and say, what's going on, than to say, well, we set a goal that you were going to use this particular feature by this particular date, and now you're not using this feature. How can we help you to adopt this feature and to get going with it? And so onboarding, building that relationship at the early stage is the first thing that we do. And for that, we've used Customer Success Box to put a playbook in that we follow through the playbook of onboarding stages, the kickoff meeting, the using the software to a certain extent with certain features that they're using in Practitest, then a second meeting, and then a final meeting as a sort of regressive meeting to go back and discuss everything that we've done and to see whether they're ready to move out of onboarding into the general use phase of the software, or whether we need to pause the onboarding because they're suffering difficulties which cause delays. And so for that, we use Customer Success Box very much. We also use it for reviewing customer usage. As Punit said, we've got all the data there. We've got millions of data points, and kudos to Customer Success Box for allowing us to put so many data points in, because every time somebody presses a button, and it's something that you were mentioning when you were talking about the difference between service and product industry. I have to say that I've no experience of using the service industry as customer success, because I've always been in the product industry, and the data points that we produce are huge in number that we can analyze and use. And we look at the data points, seeing who's using which features, we have about 45 features that we record in our software, and we look and see what's being used, what isn't being used. And then, of course, we use Customer Success Box as our email connector so that we can see emails in, emails out, and look at them on an account level. Are we having the correct engagement with our customers? Should we be emailing them? When did we last have a meeting with them? Arranging meetings with our customers and business reviews. That's all part of Customer Success Box as well. And we also do webinars. We have extra value in our software where we do testing webinars for people. My boss, who's called Joel, he's very active in the testing world, having 20 years as a tester as experience himself. He's our chief solutions architect, and he does webinars, conferences around the world, and is giving a very powerful link to Practitest where people see us all the time and are communicating with us all the time. We also connect with the other departments within the company. We have continuous discussions with marketing for case studies, getting case studies out of people. And we also, on a daily basis, we're in contact with support. And we also assist support, monitor support, so that if somebody goes in as a support query and we feel that we've been trying to contact them and they haven't been talking to us, we'll zap in on the support chat, in which we have the live chats which are going on, and ask the chat person to transfer them over to us into customer success, so that we can sometimes we get customers who aren't responding to us back in that way, and they're able to contact us. And of course, we also have the connection to product for new features, to push new feature requests, and also to discuss those features which we see are being well adopted and which are not being so well adopted. So the biggest challenges that we suffer, and I'd say the greatest causes of churn, are failed onboarding, firstly. As I said, the way you start off is the way that people continue and they see you. If you have a good onboarding experience, then even if there are problems, people will talk to you and discuss it with you. If there's no onboarding experience or a bad onboarding experience, then you've virtually lost the customer straight off, and you can wave goodbye to them. Champions leaving. I used to think that if you had on your CV that you'd left the company within 3 years, then that was suspicious. Anything less than 3 years for somebody to work at a company, and I think that they need to be hiding things in their CVs. But nowadays in high tech, how long do people spend in companies? 11 months, 12 months, a year and a half, 2 years? And this is a huge challenge to us. We build relationships, we work with people, they become our account owners, and then suddenly one day they're gone. And so we have almost a situation where in many cases, it's okay if somebody who's their number 2 takes over and loves the software and goes on using it. But if somebody else is either brought in to replace them new, has their own testing software, which they love, and how do we get them to use Practitest? And so we have indicators that show that if an account owner stops using the software, within a week or two, we'll be pouncing to try and find out why they've stopped using the software, what's happened to them. And we'll be trying to get in on the champion leaving. Firstly, we hope they'll call us first and let us know and do a handover. And we try and orchestrate that. But if we can't, then at least have your monitors on your champions, and if they stop using the software, go in as quickly as possible and try and find out why, so that we don't get weeks and months for somebody to get the account to go dead, and then once they've gone dead, they'll never revive, almost certainly. Then, of course, we have takeovers. Takeovers are very difficult to mitigate against, because if the company gets taken over, then very often they'll lose their workers and they'll be fired. I was actually talking to a company very recently in England, and they were taken over, and they were hoping that they'd be able to retain us, because they were hoping that the software that they were using and which we were doing providing the testing software for, they were hoping that they'd retain that software. And we kept in communication with them over the weeks. And sadly, it turned out that one by one, the people I was talking to were all fired. And finally, we got down to the last person, and he was still hopeful. And then he said one day, made a meeting with me and said, "I'm sorry, you're going to lose us. And in fact, I'm leaving the company at the end of the week as well." And so we get all these human nature situations where we have to work with people, try and help them, and be conciliatory to them, and realize that our problems in losing an account are nothing compared with their problems in losing their jobs. And maybe the best way that we can end it is saying, hope maybe in the future we'll be able to work together again. And so we leave them on a positive view, but at least we know what's happened, and we can't be blamed for the fact that we've lost them. Companies ceasing testing or outsourcing, again, we like to know about these things. We don't like to have them sprung on us as a surprise. And that's part of building the relationship, trying to be able to keep with the companies. And then something which I'm not natural about is a salesman trying to upsell. And that's probably one of my biggest challenges personally, being able to lead a team which is needing to upsell. And because a lot of what happens in Practitest happens automatically, that they have the ability to add their own users, they get automatically charged for users, everything's automatic. So we don't really have to upsell. So it's very easy to fit into your comfort zone and not do upselling. But nevertheless, it's something which I'm trying to educate myself to and make sure I do. But the opportunities that we've managed to gain from using Practitest with Customer Success Box are fantastic. Even outside my own area, I'm trying to help our sales team by looking at the trials, because we put all the trials into Practitest. We have a free trial for 2 weeks, and I can look at the people who are using the trials most and see the most active trials, pass them back to our sales team and tell them, are you pushing these particular trials? We may have 100 trials that sign up in a week or two, and there's no way they can look at all 100 trials. But if I can say to them, these are the ones who have used the software the most, why don't you go and chase these 5 trials or 10 trials? Then that gives them something valuable to look at as well. The onboarding I've talked about already, that we've put into Customer Success Box. The storing of the records in Customer Success Box, we're integrated with Intercom, which is our chat engine, and we see the support chat, and I can look through on one page of Customer Success Box. We don't have a powerful CRM system at the moment. And I know that Customer Success Box is not a CRM system, but there are elements of integrations that we use. And if we do switch to a CRM system and get a CRM system, then bringing the data from that and sharing that backwards and forwards with Customer Success Box as well, it will decide partly on which customer resource management system we actually go for. And so if we go for something like Salesforce, then the developments, I'm not allowed to talk about product roadmap. I hear that product roadmap in Customer Success Box does include improvements to integrations with certain big CRM systems in the future. So then we look at health. And who do we prioritize in contacting? This is the present situation. We look at the health scores, the green, and then we work out who are our priorities, segment them, big companies, obviously above small companies, and then look at the colors on the green companies. They're going on well, the amber ones not so well, and the red ones we have to do something about very fast. Account owners going silent, as I mentioned before. Have they left the company? Is there a reason why? Reach out to them as soon as possible and get the information about them. And we have segments in Customer Success Box set up for users based on the account owners. We usually have about 1 or 2 account owners for each account. If they all go quiet, we've got a problem and we immediately have to find out what's going on. And visibility into who isn't using the important features. But everything I've said so far is very subjective, and it takes what we're thinking. And when we talk about defining health, using features, not using features, using the software a certain amount of time, and Punit's skirted around this, but how do you define a good customer? We talk about, yes, let's define our health based on our good customers. So we look at our good customers, then we define our health based on them. Or do we do it the other way around? Do we look at the health, who's using which features? Do we prioritize a certain feature and then go and say, who's a good customer based on that? And this is the argument that we have going around the teams at Practitest all the time. Who is a good customer? Do you define it by what you want to be a good customer, or do you define it by who you think is a good customer? And that is, for us, the biggest question with regard to setting up health scores. How do you define what's a good customer? You've got your chicken, you've got your egg. Which one's the chicken and which one's the egg? And then when we decide what are the important features, how do we decide which are the important features? And the most, it's very subjective. How many criteria do we use? And as Punit said, he said 1, 2, 99% you don't use, maybe just 6 features. I think we use about 6 features in our health scores, 6 different things in our health scores. But as you said, we've got 45 and we're not looking at most of them. Seasonal variations. Customers go red at Christmas. We have at Christmas time, the board goes completely red. How do we know what's important and what isn't? And this year was particularly bad because Christmas lasted for nearly a month. You have a month of Sundays, and here we've got a month of Christmas because of COVID and people taking more time off. And so everything went red for a couple of weeks. And then you have to work out the difference between who was red before, who's red afterwards, and where's the change. And finally, the segmenting of health. Does it raise more questions than it actually answers? Who do you put into different segments? Is it a big segment based on size of company, strategic companies? And so you mash all this together and you get all this confusion. So we've been looking at AI in Customer Success Box and using it for a couple of months now. And we've seen that the AI measures a huge number of parameters, far more than we can possibly do. And the way it experiences it, or at least Punit assures us it, that Sheldon doesn't have a mind of his own and can't go to the pub and can't have a particularly bad afternoon after he's had a liquid lunch. So we have to believe that Sheldon is objective and he's taking purely data without looking at our subjective biases and our thoughts. And it's really refreshing to see what suggestions Sheldon comes up with. Some of them are incredibly surprising to us. And they say, yes, healthy companies actually do delete tests. And I wouldn't have thought that we have to look at deleting tests. But Sheldon assures us that 88% of healthy companies will go and delete tests. And that's something that we hadn't been aware of. And so we look at these things. Are they true? And should we be basing rules on it? Or are they coincidental? That's something which is another discussion and only time will tell. But we look at it and we're opening our eyes and we're completely reevaluating the way we look at things as a result of having AI on our side and questioning the beliefs that we already had. We can still prioritize and segment as well. And Sheldon gives us the ability to do that. Sheldon has a segmentation. You pick up the segments that you have in the system, and you can say, I only want to see this segment today. And you can flick up a list, as Punit showed the list before, of the recommendations given. And you can then organize by different numbers. What we've actually found ourselves doing is we've been looking at the numbers of recommendations for each company, especially risk. And if there's only one risk and possibly 1 or 2 upsells, we don't pay attention to it. But if there's, say, 5 or 6 risk indicators for one company, then that means do something urgently. And so the louder Sheldon shouts at us, the more likely we are to pay attention to it. And that's the way we're acting at the moment. But as time goes on, we may focus in on certain risks segments, which Sheldon is showing us. And the CSB's Customer Success Box's AI lets us see the impacts of particular actions and features. That we can look at certain actions that we may be doing or features and seeing what sort of benefit. And as Puneet showed us earlier, you could see that 95% of customers who are successful use this feature, increase your LTV, whatever it is, that Sheldon shows the impact. And it follows on from something which Customer Success Box has already done, which was in the health, which we really liked, was the ability to show reasons why the health score was as it is. That if the health score changes, you can click on that health score and then change, and you can see, oh, because they stopped using this feature, now they're, and it shows the reason why the rule has interacted. And so I believe that Sheldon is probably an extension of that he's showing you the reasons why he's giving the explanations that he is and justifying what he's doing as well. And of course, Sheldon also helps with upsell. We have the risk monitors, we also have the upsell monitors. And that's something which I'm going to be trying to, against my comfort zone, trying to integrate into our processes as well, to be able to use the upsell monitors as well. And at this point, firstly, I'd like to say thank you to Puneet for letting me speak before we move on to the discussion, and also express my sympathy with all of you who are in India as well, with the terrible COVID situation that you're having at the moment, and hope that you soon move out of that situation and into a position where everyone's healthy and we don't have to continue everyone. At the end of every conversation now, I say, keep safe and keep well. And hopefully, yes, we'll always hope for that, but we won't have to enunciate it so clearly and put such a focus on it.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much. I know we are over time, and then those.
Sorry.
No, that's completely fine. I think we all enjoy the conversation. And Aaron did say goodbye. Aaron had another commitment, so he had to drop off. But we're glad we were able to get his thoughts in. And Anthony, thank you so much, and thank you for your sympathies for those of us who are here in India. And I think as Pharmacy of the World, I think we absolutely have to come out, and everybody above 18, which includes me, is going to get their jabs from 1st of May. So it's sort of opening up. I'll let you assume whether I'm 18 or how old, but that, yes. So I think it's just bad phase right now, but it's absolutely going to turn around. But thank you so much. Well, that said, I do want to answer just one, last question before we end the session. Is this is so Mahesh is asking, this is great and seems like no-brainer, but what kind of headwinds might be there for enterprises to adopt Sheldon or AI in the customer success area? So what are they going to get out of adopting Sheldon? You wanna take the first stab at it, Anthony?
Yeah, so let's take it from the headwinds point of view. I think there's overall a mistrust, particularly in the customer success community, which is so human oriented and looks at human heuristics, the experience that we have as people, and the idea of handing over our decisions and our innermost thoughts to a computer may be something which is difficult. And I suppose people might want to say, let's try it at a limited level or in conjunction with what we've created ourselves. And of course, you allow us to do that. You allow us to keep our conventional health scores going at the same time as the AI, and to see, and you could do some sort of A/B testing and trying both. Yep. To see how both work in conjunction with each other, and maybe keep a log card where you score Sheldon against the more conventional methods in Customer Success Box.
Yeah, I think there are lots of reasons for bringing something in like Sheldon is. So to start with, so many of us want to be great at customer success, but so many of us are also setting up the customer success practice for the first time. That basically means this is the first time that we are defining account health. And even if we are, probably already have some definition in play, it's likely that there is a new leader who's taking over, and hence the definition needs to be revisited. So those could also be very interesting reasons for them to set up health definition the right way. I've also seen Mahesh, where organizations have certain tools in place and certain rules in place, and they were set up so long ago, so long back, by somebody who's not there in the system anymore, and nobody knows why those alerts show up anymore, why those alerts keep showing, and they've just learned to suppress them. And all those, I think, could be some of those challenges that a lot of customer success teams are facing. And then the most important one is when you're trying to scale customer success and you're not able to find very, very experienced customer success managers, and that could be a challenge. And hence you want to bring in maybe junior customer success managers, but you still want to set them up for their own success by giving them the support of artificial intelligence, where sort of next best action is recommended for them for every account. Yeah, cool. I think with that, I think
before we end, there's one question which Sandy had asked, and I had promised at the end of the session we will take it up. He says, customer success is new in our organization. I am the first customer success specialist, and I have been with my company for the 20 years. Do you have any tips on how I can convince my management to invest in a CS tech like yours?
Oh, lovely. No, thank you so much, Sandy, for your. I'm glad that we were able to convince you to start with. So thank you, and thank you, Anthony. I think he did most of the magic.
Can I just answer that question?
Please.
Invite Puneet to a meeting with your management, and he'll sell them on Customer Success Box immediately.
No, but
it's absolutely fantastic.
No, thank you, Anthony. But on a more serious note, what did you tell your management, for CS Tech investment?
My management was, as I said before, very, very supportive, and they were trying to persuade me to have a tool rather than they believed that you have, as you said, you need to throw tools at everything, and hopefully it will have the desired effect. And from their point of view, they wanted me to have the best resources possible. They knew that you can't monitor thousands of pieces of information. You can't be expected to reduce churn if you don't have the number of either people or tools. We're a very small team, and I'm the only full-time CS person, though we do have other people who help me out and do part of the CS as well. But they said, we're either going to hire a couple more people, or we're going to get some tools in to help you do it, and then bring in people to help you within the team as well. And I think that was more the direction they wanted to go in. They wanted to support me and help me to be the best CS person that I could be.
Awesome. And just chiming in on that more formally. So here is the best sort of way I can approach, or what I will recommend that you approach, your management with, is you're looking at this. So do you know only 10% of businesses ever get to more than 125% net retention rate, or I'm talking about net revenue retention rate, or 125% plus MRR retention. Most of which is 90% of SaaS, is actually below 125% net revenue retention rate. Now, if your management is going to be looking at customer success as they are looking at support, then I think the lens itself needs to be changed, because support is more traditionally an operational expense, whereas is a capex, whereas customer success is a profit center. Why? Because when you do invest, and I'm going to zoom in here a little bit, when you do invest in customer success, so this red line is your MRR declining without customer success. Then your blue line is the MRR declining with customer success, but without technology. What technology can enable is, so without technology, you can never go above 100%, because you'll never be able to drive predictive upsells. And to go above 100% MRR retention, ARR retention, NRR, whatever you want to call it, you have to have technology in place because you want to be leading with data, both in preventing churn and driving upsell. And this is the value that you're unlocking. Otherwise, you're simply missing, you're leaving this money on the table. That's probably your best way to best sort of angle to approach your management with, that it's a profit center. It's an investment. You put in a rupee and you put in $1 and you get down, you get back $2, $10, whatever you want to do your ROI on. We can help you do the ROI as well, but that's how you look at it, not by justifying the cost. See, $1 invested can be expensive, whereas $1 million invested can be the right investment, can be cheap depending on the ROI. So it's not the amount that you put in; it's what you get out of it.
Yeah, cool. I remember the chart which always affects me more than any other is the retention and growth chart, where you showed that based on how much you retain, how much the company will grow.
Yeah,
and
one that dips and then goes up.
Yeah, exactly. That every account which you lose through churn means that you need to gain however many accounts to actually retain your position. And each time you have to get a new account, then there's the cost of acquisition for that account.
Yep. And that's the one. This is the chart that this is the chart that that Anthony is talking about. So essentially, more customers you add, and then eventually more you're able to retain. So that's the way it goes. Yeah. Cool. Perfect. With that said, thank you so much, Anthony, Swagata, and each one of you for staying back so far. I hope it was worth your while. I know we sort of crossed our time limits today. We will try to get better at it. There was so much to unpack, and it was amazing interacting with all of you. We loved it. And we're probably going to get back Aaron and find him again, and we'll find Anthony again, hopefully, and get him. I think, Anthony, you deserve like a full session of your own. The amount of I was loving when you were going through the reasons and the challenges why customers leave, because each one of them can be zoomed into that. How do you address and approach that? And that itself will be a wonderful conversation. So let's probably do that another time. But thank you so much. Thank you, everybody. Lovely. Yeah, that was David Skock, Mike. Yes, feel free to take that. I'll drop the link in the chat if you want to grab it.
And thanks for hosting us. Thanks for being such a good host.
Thank you for being such a lovely customer, Anthony. It's amazing to have you. And enjoy with you continuing. Lovely.
Bye.
Cheers, guys. Bye, everyone.